Welcome, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Who didn't see the trailer last night? I heard someone say they did not see it.
Down there.
Oh,
Didn't see
for
it?
shame. The screen is massive, massive.
Yes.
But if you got a phone, you can watch it in your pocket right now.
That's true. It was all over social media last night. It was incredible. It is incredible. Thank you for stepping into our Storyteller Spotlight Creator Conversations. I mean, let's talk about you as this creator. We have a icebreaker every time someone steps into the spotlight. So, tell us, what inspired you to become a storyteller? Was there a particular moment in your youth that sparked your interest?
What inspired me to become a storyteller? By the way, mighty voices out here. I love it. I was like, how many people out there? 500? Or, I'm not going to say how many there are. Because the camera can't see y'all, but they can feel the energy. When I was a kid, I grew up very, very poor. If you saw my film Moonlight, which won Best Picture, I grew up in that world. Thank you. But my grandma would always take us fishing on the weekends to the Florida Everglades. And I would come back to my elementary school, and my teacher would say, the other kids in the class, they don't get to go out to the Everglades the way you do. Would you want to write your experiences on the weekend and share them with the class? And I didn't realize, but that was my first experience with storytelling. It was writing about catching catfish in the Florida Everglades. Miss Pamela Gilzo Rodriguez, she was the one who first made me feel like I could be a storyteller.
That's fantastic. That's a beautiful story, right? Oh my goodness. So now, is there a particular Disney television series or film that touched you when you were young, that it made an impact?
When I was young, it was probably Fantasia.
Oh,
just
yes.
Yeah, just the movement and the way that film is drawn. I just thought it was very dreamy and magical. And then, of course, I'm directing Mufasa, the Lion King. As a teenager, I was babysitting my nephews, and you're trying to find the DVD or the VHS back then that will get the kids to be quiet. And it was always the Lion King.
Really?
And so in the summer of 1996, I think it was, I watched that VHS 155 times. While my sister was off working. And watching them watch it, I realized they were experiencing these intense emotions of grief, trauma, loss. They were processing what it might be like to lose a parent for the first time, but they were doing it in a very safe way. And I didn't even know I wanted to be a filmmaker at that point, but I always remembered that there was something very special about what that movie was able to achieve.
That's right. And are there any other life lessons that you took from the film?
From The Lion King, I mean, in a certain way, yes. Simba is overwhelmed in the OG Lion King, and he flees. And there's this expression that I love. It says, in fear we shrink, in love we expand. And I think when you watch the OG Lion King, I love that Simba shrinks when he's just overwhelmed by fear. But then Nala comes back into his life, and he makes this new family with Timon and Pumbaa, and he begins to expand again, so he has the courage to go back and reclaim the throne. And I think that's a really valuable lesson.
That's a huge lesson, and it made such an impression on you. Now, cut to.
Cut to.
You are.
I am.
The chosen one. Really?
You know what?
You are the chosen one to tell the story of Mufasa.
Only in my grandma's eyes am I the chosen one. I am the guy who got hired to make Mufasa the Lion King.
But I mean, it's no small feat. It is such an incredible honor. How does that feel like for you?
Now being almost on the other side of it, it was really wonderful stepping out on stage last night. There were like 15,000 people. I make films. I'm not a rock star, so standing on a stage and having that many people looking at you is very intimidating. But it really solidified the enormity of the task that myself and my collaborators have undertaken making this film. I had a meeting with Mr. Bob Iger about this film early in the process, and the way he spoke about the legacy of these characters, it was almost like a torch was being handed off to us in telling the story of Mufasa. And it was, quite an honor, but I also felt blessed because I always remember that feeling that my nephews got watching that film over and over again. Yeah. And now I have the responsibility of all of your nephews, all of your sons and cousins, of re-communicating that same feeling through this different story. So it's an honor.
It is an honor. And what I love, of course, about The Lion King in general is the essence of the origin story. Why is the origin story so important to you, and how is that infused in Mufasa?
You know, for me, the origin story of Mufasa is incredibly important. One, for 30 years, people all over the world have looked up to this character. You know, Mufasa is kind of like Super Dad, you know? He's like Kellen Winslow on Family Matters, you know? He's like the perfect dad. See, it's a very young
Oh my
crowd.
God,
They don't know
you
what
really
Family
took
Matters
it
is.
back.
He's like the perfect dad. And because of that, if you watch the film and you've been to the Broadway show, you know, you saw the film in 2019, you just have this idea that he was always perfect, that he was born under pristine conditions, that nothing bad ever happened to him. He never had to overcome any obstacles, including self-doubt. And I think for kids, I think for all of us, it's really valuable to see that the people who we believe are great, the people who we know are great, because we all know Mufasa are great, they went through some of the same trials and tribulations that we are all going through in our lives. And so I think for that reason, and I'll go to the other side as well, for a character like Scar, you know, there are adults who are evil human beings, but we were all children at some point, and I don't believe any child is inherently bad or evil. It's all the choices you make, the circumstances, and the events you go through living your life. And when this project came to me and I saw the opportunity to explore those two things, those two dual paths that we all know end up with Mufasa hanging off a ledge and Scar holding him, I thought, oh, this is just rich.
Right.
There's something really valuable here for people who know these characters very well, for them to learn and discover anew.
That's right. So you have that beautiful, rich story about the father and son bond, and then you have the brotherhood story.
Exactly.
Can you speak to the brotherhood?
It's the brotherhood story, and I can't speak to it too much.
Of course,
because
right.
I don't want to get kicked off this film by spoiling too much. But yes, there is the brotherhood story, which I found quite powerful and quite moving. You know, people, when I took this job, were like, well, what is there in The Lion King for Barry Jenkins to excavate? But then someone took the trailer for Moonlight, and they took the audio and they cut it to the imagery from the 2019 Lion King, and it like really played. And it really played because so many of the themes that this story covers, I've been covering in my previous work, including this duality between men who are friends, who are brothers, all these different things. So that was really rich. But the other thing was, as you know, if you saw the trailer last night, Mufasa is an orphan cub who gets adopted by a new pride. And so they choose to be brothers. They choose to be family. And over the course of the film, you see Mufasa choose an even larger quilt that becomes his family. And through choosing these people, he rebuilds his foundation. He rebuilds everything that he's going to build his legacy off of, you know, through learning from these other folks, through lifting up the community. It's really beautiful. And I just thought, these are things I'm trying to deal with in all my work. Why wouldn't I deal with it on this canvas?
That's right. And speaking of the canvas, it's breathtaking, like just the imagery. You know, the moment it came on yesterday, I literally lost my breath. So let's talk about the technical aspects and the technical process of bringing this film to life. What was that like for you?
You know, it's this live action virtual animation. It's so new that the definition of it is still evolving. But the same animators who worked on the 2019 film, directed by Jon Favreau, worked on this one. I think they learned a lot of lessons making that movie, so it was great to not have to start from point A. We could start on point F, or, well, maybe point M. You know, they were pretty deep in. They knew it. They knew the things that we wanted to break, and they knew the things that we wanted to advance. And I mentioned earlier Fantasia being this film that I always loved in the Disney family, in the Disney legacy, I should say. And that's just really languid, beautiful, like hand-drawn strokes of paint and graphite. And then you have this, what people would maybe describe as CGI, like animation, which can somehow feel very stark and staccato. And we wanted to find a way to almost combine those two things, to really reach way back to like the earliest days of like really pure, like people in rooms drawing the movements of all these characters, but using these new digital tools. And so for us, it was really great. We started the movie by directing 30 seconds of the film at the very start. And we did that in a very rapid fire way to learn all the parts of the process. That way, as we went through making the movie, rather than us trying to learn how to make a movie in this animation style, the animators learned how to make a movie in our style. And I think what results is something that feels very much sort of in the same family of the movie that came out in 2019, but hopefully it also has a connection to something like Fantasia and all the best of Disney animation.
That's right. And we, of course, have to talk about the cast. Let's give it up for the star-studded cast of this film, right? We have some returning characters, and then we have some new characters, of course, one of which is I'm really excited about. We're introducing Miss Blue Ivy Carter. Can you tell us about that? How were you able to assemble this incredible cast, and what was it like working with them?
Yeah, you know, with the process of making this film, you start with the voices. Like, everything starts with the voices. And so it's almost like directing a radio play of the film. So when this movie comes out, if we wanted to, we could show 5 different versions of it. There's the first version that you could put on in your earpods. It's like watching a podcast, listening to a podcast. Yeah. I say watching because I always think visually. So there's that version. Then we storyboarded the entire film, and we paired the voices with the storyboards. We could screen that. Then while we're making the storyboard versions, we're always converting those into what I call like a PlayStation 2 version of the movie, which is we animate the movie to a PlayStation 2 level of quality. I'm speaking in very rough terms, because then those things exist in 3D, and we go in and we actually shoot those. We get dailies, we get the same thing we do when we do a live action film. And our editor then goes in and cuts that film. Typically with an animated film, you go from the storyboards to the film. There's not a lot of editing, but in our case, our editor for every scene has a whole bin of takes she can choose from, just like when we make something like Moonlight or If Beale Street Could Talk. Once we get those scenes cut together in the PlayStation 2 style of animation, we then pass it on to the final stage of animation, where they start from scratch reanimating every single frame of the PlayStation 2 version of the film and what you guys saw last night and what you'll see in movie theaters. That has to start with the voices of the actors. So when I was casting the film, I was looking for The Lion King is Shakespeare, essentially.
Yes, it is, very
It's Shakespeare. And you need actors who can really, really lean in. What I love about this being based in Shakespeare is typically it would be just like this. You know, Mufasa's on a stage, and if you've been in New York or any place with a touring show of The Lion King, you've seen this version of the story where you could be way in the back of the room, and yet you still feel what the character is expressing because the actors are projecting, they're moving. We wanted that quality, the quality of the stage production of The Lion King, and our voice performances from our cast. So I was looking for that. There are some beautiful people in this cast. I did not care. I did not care what you looked like.
Right.
What do you sound like?
Yes.
You know, when Mufasa is just like overwhelmed with self-doubt, what do you sound like? You know, when he's bursting with love, what do you sound like? You know, when Taka, AKA Scar, when he is torn about whether he will turn towards the light or the darkness, what do you sound like? I don't care what you look like. And yet we took a photo together, the whole cast, and I was like, man, it's a beautiful group of people. And so maybe it just ends up that way. People who sound good look good. Or maybe beauty is in the eye of the hearer as well as the beholder. Thank you, my friend, for chuckling at that. And so that was how we went about casting the film. When you mentioned Blue Ivy, again, it's what you sound like. I did not approach Blue Ivy for this film because her mom is the sun, the moon, and the stars. It is already in this film.
And she's a queen.
And she's a queen. And Blue Ivy plays the daughter of the queen.
Right.
No, I approached her because a friend of mine named Matthew Cherry made a short film called Hair Love, which won Best Animated Short at the Oscars. And Blue Ivy, yes, shout out to Matthew Cherry and Hair Love.
Shout out to Matthew Cherry, yeah.
And Blue Ivy read the audiobook for that film.
Yeah.
And so I went to Audible and got the book. I was like, I wonder what this young woman sounds like. And she sounded like my character. And so we didn't go to Miss Beyonce. We went to whoever reps Blue Ivy and said, hey, we have this part in this film.
Right.
Yes, it happens to be the film that her mom is in, but we are here for her. Would she want to do this? And she auditioned, and she was fantastic. And she has a very difficult role in this film. She's sort of like the heart of the movie in a certain way. Mm-hmm. It's like her heart and Mufasa's heart. Mm-hmm. And they kind of, for me, they fuse in this very interesting way across time. And she just crushed it. And it wasn't about who she was or who she's related to. It was, what do you sound like? What do you sound like when you're full of joy? And what do you sound like when, unfortunately, maybe you have this tinge of despair? And she absolutely crushed it.
So you hear that, folks? Blue Ivy earned it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She earned it. Oh, how fascinating.
I mean, because what? Because the alternative is whether she earns it or not. The alternative is she's not good at it, or she can't perform the job. And that's bad for the film, but it's
Right.
also bad for her. And I would never put someone in that position. She absolutely earned it. She did a great
Absolutely
job.
wondered. Oh, I'm so excited about this. I could sit here and talk to you forever.
And yet we only have 2, 1, and...
Oh no, I know, no, oh my gosh. Okay, but you know what? I wanted to do a quick lightning round if we can. Really? Okay,
Absolutely.
lightning round questions. Ready? Okay, if you were a Disney character, who would you be and why?
Oh, does it have to be Disney or could it be Pixar?
It could be Pixar.
All right, man, I love Woody and Toy
Woody?
Story. I would be Woody, man. I would be Woody.
Okay, favorite Disney.
Because who doesn't want to be Tom Hanks? I mean, come on.
Right, exactly. Favorite Disney or any kind of Disney brand song to sing along to?
Song is up. Well, I can't say one in this film, right?
You can. Let me
No,
watch.
no,
Shout out about the music. The music is going to be great.
No, it's the Ursula song from Little Mermaid. Poor
Okay,
Unfortunate-
Ursula song from
Poor
Little
Unfortunate
Mermaid.
Souls. The
Okay.
song is a banger.
Yes, you're right. Poor Unfortunate Souls. Favorite Disney park attraction?
Well, I'm from Florida, so I'm given to Epcot Center. Which I
Okay.
don't know if that counts as Disney, but I just love.
Yes, it does.
does.
Tron. Get out here. I know we're at
I always
now.
loved Epcot Center. Anybody here been to Epcot Center? Who has not?
Yes, Tron is amazing. And I know we're out of time, but
You were right in the middle. You are missing out. You have to go to Epcot Center. It is awesome. It is so awesome.
For you two, I've got all the time in the world.
oh my gosh. Okay, so
I didn't say that on
Are we
camera.
getting the hook?
I know, yeah,
Is the
we're not
Sandman's
getting the
coming?
hook yet. Sandman's not here. Sandman is not here. Okay, and then your favorite go-to movie, Disney movie or Disney branded movie for a cozy night in.
Again, I'm a little strange. I'm a little weird. So I put on Fantasia.
Oh, we love Fantasia.
The movement in Fantasia is just like out of this world.
Yes.
It's just something so beautiful about, I don't know what was happening at the studio. It's just like, there's something about that movie that is very just soothing, inspiring. It's a work of art. You know?
Yes.
It's
It's a
work of art.
masterpiece.
It is a masterpiece,
Oh my
yes.
gosh, there's so much more to unpack with you. I'm so excited about your journey. Everybody, who's going to see Mufasa, the Lion King? That's right. Give it up for Barry Jenkins, everybody.
Thank you.